watching Mainebiz Sunday, Maine's business news source.
With us to discuss the paper industry in Maine, how it's doing and where it's headed, we have Keith Van Scotter, CEO of Lincoln Paper and Tissue, Donna Cassesi, manager of the Sappy Mill in Westbrook, Hemant Pendence, chair of the Department of Chemical and Biological Engineering in the University of Maine, as well as the director of the school's Forest Byproducts Research Institute, and John Williams, executive director of the Maine Pulp and Paper Association. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. This is a great subject, and one that I have to admit, you know, we're starting our third season with this show, and I'm going back to all my shows. I thought, we haven't done a pulp and paper show yet. And it's like, it's so important to this state that we clearly want to make sure and spend the time to really just have you on and talk about this and talk more about its future. Okay, here's some key facts about pulp and paper in Maine. This is from the Maine Pulp and Paper Association website. Maine is the second leading paper making state. Maine is producing as much pulp and paper as ever. There are about 7,500 people employed in the industry, and the average salary is $60,000. Statewide payroll of about $459 million. And you say that there are 5 to 7 times job creation multiplier associated with this industry. It represents about 4.1% of the gross state product, and 60 to 80% of property tax base in most mill towns come from the mill itself. So that's clearly a big industry player and a big part of our economy. So, John, I'm going to turn to you first. I've got 3 questions. First of all, if we're number 2, who's number 1? Who is number 1?
Wisconsin.
Okay. So we had a test with the crew before that, and we were all wrong, actually. Nobody picked Wisconsin. And number 2, how many working mills are there in Maine now versus 20 years ago, and how does the employment kind of compare about to 20 years ago as well?
Okay. Right now we have 11 mills operating in the state. That's employing, as you said, 7,500 people. Mm-hmm. The mills run from Westbrook all the way up to Madawaska, from Rumford over to Baileyville. The number of mills has declined. I don't know the exact number, but it's declined, but not by as much as you would think. And we've probably gone from about 20,000 workers at the mills to where we are now at 7,500. A couple of things on that, though. Okay. We were forced to do that to stay competitive. If we still had 20,000 people working in the industry, our mills just wouldn't be able to compete with other mills in other states and other countries. So while employment's gone down, it's done that through making the operations more efficient. And as you said, also, we're producing as much paper as ever before.
So from 7,500 to 20,000 to 7,500, that's significant efficiencies in your labor.
It really is. And most of that came from efficiencies at the operating mills. There were a few mills that have been shut down over the past 10 or 20 years. But
so was that big investment in new equipment? Is that the kind of thing that was being experienced out there in the mills?
Really a little bit of everything. If you're talking about the last 5 years or so, you would see some investment in new equipment, but primarily what we've seen is efficiencies. How can we make it quicker? How can we have better yields? How can we improve basically the efficiency overall in the workplace?
Changes in management philosophy, realignment and consolidation of the existing facilities, where some mills used to have 8 machines, now they have 3.
Okay.
There are examples like that. One other comment about Maine and its forest products, pulp and paper base. Maine is one of the most heavily forested states in the country as a percentage of land area, about 92%, and that number has actually grown over the last 100 years.
Interesting.
Even though we've got a big resource-based industry,
keep harvesting and using.
We keep harvesting, but we've got more trees. So that's an important fact for people to know.
And clearly that's historically why pulp and paper has been a part of our economy here and will be, as you would tell me, for a long time to come. Okay, so let's talk about kind of what happened most recently then, too, the recession. We know how it affected a lot of other businesses. How did it affect the pulp and paper industry in general? And John, just give us an overview and then we'll ask the specifics.
In 2009, our paper production was down for the first time in years. It's bounced back up, but 2009 was definitely a bad year for the industry generally. A lot of our paper is produced in Maine for advertising purposes. It's for magazines and catalogs, and that was really hard hit by the recession. But it's coming back, and I think Donna and Keith would probably be better to address that.
Couple of comments relative to that. Some of our advertising and direct mail related papers, and I think everybody saw this, we saw demand declines in the short term in the first half of 2009 as much as 40%. Everybody talked about how hard hit the automobile industry was. The paper industry, whether it was coated papers or uncoated papers in direct mail and advertising, was down as much as the auto industry.
Because as a manufacturer, you're hit by all the same thing that any other manufacturer is.
Exactly.
Plus, your product is related to advertising, which is the thing that obviously goes away during a downtime.
Yeah. Now, one other thing. Now, we do make tissue, which is more of a consumer product. For the first time, then since people have been keeping statistics, tissue consumption declined in the U.S. That's been one that's typically grown because the population grows and living standards go up. But for 2009, various segments of tissue actually in aggregate went down in the U.S. for the first time.
Interesting. It might become a new economic indicator, watching the tissue. I mean, seriously, I mean, that's...
And in fact, it started to recover back to trend line, but still that consumption was lost.
Donna, talk about the recession in your folks.
Very difficult time in Westbrook. We had layoffs as a result of the recession. We make products that typically we sell our paper products into places like China, Europe, South America, and we immediately, because many of those products come back, saw a decline in that. We have all the folks that we've laid off certainly back and more, very strong business. One of the things we feel very good about at SAPI is we talked about research. I know we're going to be talking about that more. Is during that period of time we still considered, still spent a lot of time resourcing R&D. And a result of that we've come up with new products, as example in printing and publishing.
Well, let me break in for a second. So did you cut back on R&D during that period of time?
We did not, and that's really the exciting part, is that we've come up with a lot of new products. In fact, 25% of our business is products we've developed within the last 3 years.
And that was a conscious, obviously, decision on your part to be poised for, the recession wasn't going to last forever, to have the new product level to go and be poised for that. Were other members in your industry doing that same kind of thing?
I think everyone does some of the research that's necessary. SAPI is a little bit different in having their big research facility in South Portland.
And how about?
We're very fortunate. We have 50 folks that are employed at the research and development facility in Westbrook, all focused on producing products for us.
Okay, good.
I think University of Maine jumped in here because we do research for a lot of our pulp and paper mills. Not like SAPI, but other people don't have that much in-house R&D stuff. So we picked up a lot of business on R&D.
What kind of R&D do you do there? And for
we do a lot of this was energy efficiency, because people were trying to reduce their dependence on oil consumption, and several mills focused on trying to reduce the use of oil in their operations. We worked with people on how they can reduce the freshwater use. So a lot of process efficiencies that we are talking about, we were working with several paper mills ourselves, and that made significant impact.
Does the University of Maine also do new product development, new product research and development, those kinds of things as well?
Yes, we were working with small businesses who had technology that needed to be validated in our pilot plant, and then we were working with mill trials during that period. And several of those are moving ahead right now.
Well, and just jumping on that same topic, just in general, what is the next big thing? Where are we heading in the pulp and paper industry, at least for Maine now? Are there new products, some of the things you're talking about? Is that where we're headed?
Absolutely.
To survive and grow?
Really both in printing and publishing and our release business. Just an example that I brought in, this is a piece of flooring that we worked on with a European manufacturer, and they came to us and said, we want to figure out how to go from 5 process steps to 2 or 3. And we were able to do that, believe it or not, by printing this pattern on film as opposed to paper.
We're going to take a quick break right there. We're going to come right back, and we're going to talk more about the R&D piece in particular and where we're headed, where this industry is headed. I think folks are really wanting to see what's the future, so stick with me. Stay with us. We'll be right back to talk more about the paper industry. Stay tuned.
Mainebiz Sunday is brought to you by Bangor Savings Bank, where you can enjoy free ATMs worldwide.